All right, welcome to the latest episode of Sitecore Unplugged. I'm your host, Nicole Montero, and as always, I have my co-host joining us, Jason St-Cyr, Director of Developer Relations at Sitecore. And today we have a very special guest, Pieter Brinkman, VP of Product Marketing and DevRel at Sitecore. He has been with the company for a very long time, roughly 12 years. So he started out as a solution architect in 2011 with Sitecore. So if there's somebody who has a unique perspective when it comes to Sitecore, it is definitely Pieter, because he has seen the company undergo many different changes over the years. So we're very excited to have you, Pieter. Welcome.
Thank you, Nicole. Hi, Jason.
Thank you so much for being here. So Pieter, let's start out by having you introduce yourself to the Sitecore community. For those that don't already know you, because we know that many have already seen your name and they've met you in person as well. So give us a little intro.
All right, let me go 12 years back. No, okay, I'm not going to do the full 12 years. Yeah, so I've been a long time Sitecore veteran. Started in the Netherlands working as a solution architect, which means at that point in time, you did everything from rescue missions to pre-sales to all different things. Quickly, I bumped into Lars somewhere in an elevator, and I told him he could do the MVP program better, and there was more value for it. And as a true founder of Sitecore, and any founder, he said, if you can do it better, you should join my team. And then I joined Lars Nielsen's team, where we started building out so-called technical marketing, which was mainly around community. So how do we build out a community? How do we make sure that there is enough knowledge in there so people implement successfully? Soon we moved into more enablement because the product kept growing. We had more and more. I mean, for people that have been around longer, around Sitecore 8, things became a bit more complex. So we need to do more enablement, both internally, how can we make pre-sales successful, and also externally. So that's where we started growing the group with product evangelists. That's where Jason came in, Mark van Aalst, and others joined that group. Then when the founders moved out, we joined product marketing. We became the counterpart of product marketing. So you had product marketing and then technical marketing, taking care of the more technical pieces and explaining that towards product marketing, while also focusing on that community. And then most recently, we moved from marketing now into products, into Dave O's org, where we finally had the opportunity to split it up into developer relationships and then product marketing. So two different focus areas, which are excelling very well. So that's what I'm currently doing, mainly focusing on building out product marketing. DevRel is in Jason's hands, who's doing an excellent job for all the years there. So we're doing very well there. So that's the big priority now is product marketing. And it's hard. We got now 11 products instead of 3, right? So that's it's a big amount of work to do there.
I can imagine. All right. Well, thank you for that intro, Pieter. So let's dive into some more industry-specific questions. So the latest buzz is generative AI. So it's everywhere, and there's no doubt, at least I think, that it's here to stay. So what would you say are some common misconceptions surrounding generative AI that you'd like to debunk, or even some fears that we may have as marketers? And how would you suggest that marketers use these powerful tools while maintaining authenticity in their strategies?
Yeah, so that question contains a lot. The word fear triggers me the most. I think if I look at it, this to me is similar as we've had the industrial revolution with the steam engine. We've seen the computer, and we've seen different revolution. I think this is a bit similar, even if you would reflect to it what the steam engine did to repetitive jobs. So yes, it removed jobs. The same fear what we've seen when computers came. People like, for example, if you would take a bank teller who would get cash and would interact with customers and make sure that everything went correct, that job went gone, right? So they had the fear of losing their jobs. I do think that generative AI, ChatGPT, all these ones are definitely here to stay, but they're not going to take over your job, right? It might change your job. If we would go back to that bank teller, right? He didn't lose his job overnight. It went slowly. People first, like in industry and businesses, they first need to build trust in those new emerging technologies. So whatever is going to happen is going to be a slow change. We're now in a rapid growth. There's great opportunity there. There's tons of startup. There's great excitement, but it's not going to take over jobs. It will definitely change your jobs, but it won't take over your jobs. I do think I saw it somewhere on LinkedIn, which I think is a great summary. I do think that someone that will use Gen AI will take over your job if you don't embrace it, right? You need to really start using it. But But yeah, technology will enhance. More things will come. The industry will change. But then again, the same. If again we go one more time back to that bank teller or to the financial industry, the computer changed the banking completely, but it also introduced tons of new jobs, right? Developers, marketers, UX people, IT, security. So there's enough opportunity. So even if you might lose your job through this technology, there's enough opportunity for you to jump on another role and use all that knowledge that you have as a human. So I don't think we need to fear it, but you do need to embrace it because other people are embracing it, and it's going to help you in your day to day. Yeah, and I think that word authenticity captured it all for me. So Gen AI is great. Like I use it for tons of things, but at the end, as a human, you're responsible for final decision making, right? That's never going to be done by AI. And then also the creative direction. So you can use it, right? If I look at my day to day, I use mainly ChatGPT. We don't have BART here, Europe, LOLs, privacy. I don't know when we'll get Google. I can do it through VPN, too much effort. So I use ChatGPT mainly day to day for ideation. So when I think about something, and I might ask like, what are topics you could propose? I use it to write content outlines. So really, what changed in my day to day is normally I might start with an empty canvas or an empty Word document. Now I would first ask ChatGPT, provide me an outline for this, and then I'll start working from it. If I need an example or an explanation, I would ask ChatGPT and then use it. I would use it because I'm not a native English speaker to do rewriting. But I think it's very important that you review and you rewrite the final piece of content yourself. Because again, you're responsible for that, the final decision making and that creative directive. It's your tone of voice. So you need to stay close to yourself. If you do it for a company, stay close to your brand. Like I really recognize the people that I work with or got emails in the past. And if they use ChatGPT and just copy and paste that email, you recognize it's written by ChatGPT because it's somewhere you can pick up. It's not their own tone of voice. So you need to make sure you rewrite it and that you make it your own. I think that's really important. And but again, embrace it, right? Others are doing it, so you should do it.
Yeah. And instead of viewing it as a replacement, as you say, let's embrace generative AI. And I mean, I definitely use it to help me brainstorm ideas or get through mundane tasks more efficiently. So I think it's great. So Jason, I know you have a few questions for Pieter, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
Oh, thanks, Nicole. I just on the Gen AI thing. I mean, we chatted with Dave about this too, and I know that for me, I'm one of those people who's like very into writing, and seeing somebody able to go and achieve the same level of writing in like a 10th of the time, you have this kind of reaction like, oh, like I put so much effort into this, and you're just able to get there with a couple of clicks. So I can see like you have to use the tool or you just become obsolete, right? It's like I don't pull out a piece of paper and a pencil and start doing long division by hand anymore, right? You pull out a calculator if you needed to, or just ask ChatGPT what the math is and hope that it knows how to do it, right? But I wanted to continue on the industry thing because you and I have had a chance over the years to talk a lot about like where Sitecore sits in with industry, and we see these things changing and how things get coming. And one of the things you and I have talked a lot about was when Sitecore kind of shifted into a composable model. So we started going away from a platform model and wanting to join the industry trend around composable. And obviously there's a lot of hype around this. There's a lot of people saying this is the way to go. I wanted to know from your side, where you're seeing this with what you're seeing in the industry, why do you think this is what is becoming the thing people are jumping on? Why is this the train that everybody wants to get on?
I think there's multiple reasons, but one of the main things to me really is focus, right? So if you look at companies in general, they really need to start focusing on what matters. If you saw the monolith or a platform DXP, you had all these tools and it brought you everything, but it's also a distraction in that way. Like, what do you do? And it brings tons of overhead. Like I know when we did this keynote in the user group conference, I had that analogy of the Swiss Army knife, and I really think that captured well, right? When you look at it, we all have had this Swiss Army knife. I don't know, Nicole, if you had that in Argentina, Swiss Army knife, but I had a knife with all these different blades, and I could do everything with it. It was built by the Swiss Army to service rifles and to do anything, open a can. but it does tons of things. It's a big knife with all these different blades and all these different tools. But it really, if you would stand in your kitchen and you would have this Swiss Army knife and you need to cut a leaf of bread, would you take a Swiss Army knife or a bread knife, right? The same if you would be in your garage and you need to tighten a screw, would you take that Swiss Army knife or a power drill? Really, you would always choose that one tool that does it perfectly, not that tool that has all the different features but doesn't do any job perfectly. And I think that is similar to me with the monolith versus the composable DXP, is where the composable DXP as a business, you would look at it and you would say, what's the biggest opportunity or the biggest problem I need to address right now as a company to be successful in the future? And that might be digital asset management. Then you're going to focus on digital asset management and you're going to do that correctly. And that will impact your business. Or it might be content management. Then you focus on it. Or email marketing, or all these different pieces. Where with a monolith, you get all these tools, but they probably all do 70, 80% of what you want to do. So you could never achieve that result on what you really want to make. And I think that's where the big difference comes from. But also doing it, everything okay, means that there's still room for a platform DXP. If you are, as a company, I would say, less digital mature, a platform DXP might be a good starting point for you to build out your DXP experience, because it's already defined how you should work. With a composable DXP, you need to compose your own DXP. So you need to do vendor selection, then you need to do integration. So you need to know what you need to do. So you need to be more, definitely more digital mature to pull it off. But really where what I like about composable DXP is that it's about the value for the customer. So it's not about the vendor in a way. So when we do a monolith, it's about the features that the vendor gives you, where with a composable DXP, it's about the value that Marketing Stacks brings to you. And then you compose your own DXP. So it doesn't even need to be SaaS per se, right? If you have on-premises hosted marketing stack that drives value, and there's an API that exposes either content or features, you can use that in your composed DXP. So I think that's really important. That's about the value that Marketing Stack brings, and it's not about the vendor in that case.
Yeah, and I know that, for years we had this concept of best of breed, which I think was a term that was used a lot. Do you think there's something that's changed now, that now we're switching into this composable thing, which feels a lot like the best of breed? Like what's different now that suddenly people are like, okay, this is really the way to go?
I think a few things. I never like best of breed, though. In marketing, I do use it. I like best of fit, right? As a definition of what you want to achieve. So it goes again to the value of what you want to achieve. So that another product might not be the best of breed, but it might be the best of fit for the problem that that you need to solve. I think one difference is expectations. So the consumer's expectations change. So people that are visiting your website, they expect fast experience. And then this is pushed by the industry, like the Googles, the Instagram, everything needs to be really, really fast. And then Google used that also to do ranking and all the other stuff. So performance became, in a way, more important than relevant experience. And that's always where you have that like you can be relevant with deep personalized experiences, which could be server side and slower. That was in the monolith, like how we did it there. Or you could do static site generation, which might be less relevant, but faster. And I think the value of speed became more important, which brings it also to more use of the internet, emerging markets. So there's more focus on global scaling where the opportunity lies. So I think that is really triggering it is also front-end hosting, those modern technologies, the rise of JavaScript. So how you can build out experiences. And again, that to me is led by industry players who show what you can do with the internet. Then consumers start expecting it. Now, if you got a search bar, if you do 3 letters, everyone started guessing what you're going to search. Or if you type it wrongly, it should say, do you mean this? Because everyone uses the Googles, the Bings. So the industry is pushing the expectations of the consumer. And I think that's what's helping the composable. And that's what's pushing that composable trend, because you want to do the things that you do right on the internet instead of everything okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting when you say expectations, right? Like there's a lot of, like when you look at startups, right? They focus very much in on the one value that they solve. And because there's all these companies doing that, they set this expectation around, this is what a SaaS offering in this space looks like. And then everybody else kind of has to meet the table stakes. to be able to hit that. And I think this segues nicely into the next question I had, because at Sitecore, one of the things we do differently is we don't offer just one part of the composable suite. We offer multiple pieces. And I think one of the challenges we saw is that a lot of folks used to the Sitecore world were like, oh, I work with Sitecore. It's the thing. There is one thing I talk to. And now in a composable world, it's not one thing. There's a lot of different pieces involved. And I think one of the struggles that developers, at least that I talk to, have seen is like everything is kind of a little bit different, because you can see they're different products. They're built for different purposes. So I know that when we talked to Dave, there was some idea that he was talking to Subcon or possibly Sitecore DX about how there was a need for us to make developer experience better. And I was wondering if you've got any ideas or things you could share around what are the goals that we have at Sitecore where we can make that kind of meet the expectations that are out there of how you build with something.
Yeah, so if you look back at what we did with Composable, we started with either acquiring. So as a product strategy, it was a buy, build, or partner, right? So we acquired a number of companies, we built a number of SaaS products, and we partnered with vendors out there. So and then the strategy of the Composable was basically threefold. So it's better together. When you would logically combine multiple Sitecore products, they would complement each other, but they wouldn't rule out others. So the other really important part, which is still in our strategy, is the friendly neighbor in the marketing stack. So it's really API first. You need to be able to integrate with everything, which leads into the third one, which is then best of fit or best of breed, depending on who would say it. But every product needs to be a standalone product that you could sell. So you need every product is a standalone product. If you combine multiple, they should complement each other, but you should never exclude other vendors, because that's the whole Composable philosophy. So the first thing we needed to do is create one Sitecore experience for the business user. So that's what we did with the Sitecore portal. So in the Sitecore portal, you can see all the different products, and you could see what's happening, and then you have your subscription and see your different projects that you're running in Sitecore. The second part is, of course, important, single sign-on. You don't want to log in into, if you have two Sitecore products, you don't want to go from one sub product to another product, log in again. So that whole feeling, it was really important. And then the biggest part for the better together is XM Cloud, where we have XM Cloud as a SaaS product, and then there's personalized technology running in there, and then there's CDP technology running in there. So that's where we build out that feeling from a composable suite that is better together. But that brings you to the next point, that from a developer point of view, if you want to do personalized or XM Cloud or Content One, you have different developer experience. And that's definitely one thing that is becoming more important, because, again, expectations are there, and developers are important because they do influence the choice of software, and they do prefer certain ways of developing. And they definitely don't like investing heavily in vendor knowledge. They like investing into industry standard knowledge, the GraphQLs, the Next.js, all those technologies. So what we're now looking for is really to separate out that Sitecore knowledge, like XM Cloud or personalized, and move more to the edge. So we want to focus on CDN technology, so pushing out the content in there, and then you could build out your front-end solution on top. So really looking at it from a way that you're not an XM Cloud developer or a personalized developer, but you're an edge developer. So removing more and more Sitecore flavor, as you've seen us do before with JSS and the moves that are going on now. It's really about freedom of choice for a developer and less about vendor knowledge. So using those industry standards. And then if we're doing that in edge development, there's basically one way for you to develop across Sitecore, and we can still work that down underneath towards our own API. So it's really like an abstraction layer on top.
Awesome. I know when we get there, a lot of developers are going to have to learn new things too, but I think it's going to be a good new learning thing that they're going to have to come along with. So
yeah. As a developer, you always need to learn. We need to accept that.
Maybe we'll just get ChatGPT to learn it for us.
Exactly. We could try that. Yeah. Embrace that.
Nicole, I think we were going to get to know Pieter a little bit here as we close out the episode, right?
Yes, we are. Okay, Pieter, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you have not seen these questions yet, but we're going to dive into some rapid fire questions. So the idea behind this is that our listeners can get to know you a little bit better, and you answer the questions. There are only 4 questions in 1 to 2 sentences, so we go through it quickly. And Dave O'Flanagan survived it, so I'm sure you can as well.
Okay. I should have checked that then.
All right. So first question here. What is the most important lesson you learned in your career?
I guess that's similar as with ChatGPT. Like, you need to be open to new opportunities. My whole career moved from a solution architect to where I am now. And that's just, you need to be curious. With change comes opportunity. So when new things happen, don't be scared. Jump into it. You would always learn things. You will always come out better. So really keep your horizon broad and don't be scared.
Definitely always have to be open and willing to adapt, especially in this industry. All right. Yeah. What is your favorite hobby or pastime?
Everything with water and surfing. Can I do more than four lines here? I can do the whole podcast.
Go for it.
No, so everything surfing. I've done any kind of surfing. My main sport was windsurfing for a long time. Then I went into foiling, where you were above the water, like the Olympic class. So that's the one. And now I do wing surfing, which is like, I don't know, with a kind of a kite. So it's not kite surfing, but different. We should do a whole podcast for it. And I can share images and show what I talk about. But anything on the water, like the best thing about surfing is because it's the elements. So you got the waves, you got the wind. So there's no time to focus on things like work. So because you need to look at the waves, you need to look at the wind. If you wouldn't do it, you would crash. So there's no room for any brain cycles on work or anything. So it's really a good way to let everything go, enjoy good physical exercise, and then come back tired physically, but mentally very, how would you say, charged.
Yeah, no, good way to disconnect for sure. Actually, I figured I knew the answer to that one anyway. So I remember you mentioning something about surfing. All right. Third question here. What emerging technology are you most excited about and why?
I think AI in general. So not only generative AI, but AI in general. Like, there's just so much what could happen. So I know we talked about fear, but there is a side where this could get scary, which is interesting. So I'm not talking about Gen AI, but artificial intelligence in general could become really scary. So I think that's really interesting. And the second part is blockchain and Web 3.0. Like, if we look at generative AI, I know this was a short answer, but it's going to be a longer one. But if you look at generative AI, if it's using all the content, I'm really interested in what it would do for content creators. Because Gen AI is learning from that, and then it's creating new articles. You're not getting any credits for it. Web 3.0 based on blockchain is all kinds of way of even from payments and from crediting the authors. And I think that might take a rise together with gated content. So I'm very interested in blockchain. Always been interested, but I think Web 3.0 might benefit from Gen AI. But it also might not. Like, Web 3.0 has been interesting for years. It hasn't gone far so far, but it's something I'm definitely following and interested in. Okay,
final one here. What is one thing people do not know about you that you are comfortable sharing?
As a hobby, I do home automation. I think so. Everything, because in my current job, there's just not too much time to do deep focused work. And I am from heart, like a kind of a developer or a techie, so sometimes it's just nice to figure something out and build something with your hand, and that ends up here with windows opening, curtains closing, lights out, annoying my wife, annoying my family if things doesn't work. But it's just really nice to sometimes focus on one thing and build something with your hands instead of the work, which is just tons of things going on. So yeah, I can share that. There's probably more, but that's probably for another time.
Okay. All right, great. Well, you survived the rapid fire questions. Perfect. And just before we wrap up this episode, Pieter, we always like to leave our listeners with an inspiring message. And our listeners are, the Sitecore community. So what message do you have for the Sitecore community?
Yeah, I really think everyone in general, like, you should believe in yourself. Like, if I reflect on myself, like, there's just times where you don't think you're doing the right thing or you don't speak out. Like, speak out, but make sure that you're friendly, be helpful, right? Always point people into the right direction if you don't know the answer. And the best thing is enjoy the moment. It's always easy to say, oh, I cannot wait till it's 2 years down the road because then I might be here in my career, or then I can do this. But make sure you enjoy the current moments, because that's life. It's all short moments, and you need to enjoy every part of that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, great final message. Well, Pieter, thank you so much for joining this episode of Sitecore Unplugged. There's no doubt that your expertise and insights have definitely enriched this conversation, this discussion that we had here with Jason. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Make sure that if you like this episode that you subscribe to Discover Sitecore, and also give this video a thumbs up. And well, Pieter, I hope to see you at SubCon India.
Definitely looking forward to that. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Jason. And thank you so much, Pieter.
All right. Thank you for having me.